Welcome to the Hungarian Living Podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Sabo-Voss. Our goal is to discover, celebrate, and share Hungarian heritage and encourage you to do it too. We'll touch on food, travel, history, music, and language, and share stories from our listeners. We're glad you're here. This is a podcast where we'll encourage you to dig deeper to learn about your Hungarian heritage in a variety of ways. We'll have thought-provoking conversations and share resources. So whether you know a little or a lot about being Hungarian, this is the place to be. Welcome to the Hungarian Living Podcast. Today, I'm excited to visit again with my friend Andrea Tordai from Gödöllő, Hungary. Welcome back to the podcast, my friend. Even though I don't see you in person like I used to, since we're not traveling at this point, it is good to visit with you regularly.
Oh, yes. Hi, Liz. I'm always very glad to visit with you about Hungarian heritage topics.
Most of you know that I've been intentionally studying Hungarian language off and on for at least 10 years now. And prior to that, I caught quite a few things as I was growing up. So I know a little bit of Hungarian. I understand more than I feel confident to speak. But I remember having an aha moment in the last few years when I realized that when one says Gyulai kolbász or Debreceni kolbász, that it refers to the kolbász that is made in the style from that town. In fact, I think we were headed to Gyula for a tour when I made the connection that Gyulai kolbász was essentially kolbász from Gyula. So to someone who really knows Hungarian, that isn't really big news, but for me, it was a big revelation. So the more I'm around Hungarian language, the more I'm able to understand more about the why behind the words. And it just takes a lot of practice and a lot of focus. So I just thought I'd mention that because we're talking about Gyula and Gyulai and Debrecen and Debreceni. Because we're talking about Gyula and Csaba and these kolbásas and things. And so anyway, so let's get to our topic. We're going to talk about some of the Hungarian meats on the Hungarikums list. And Andrea, let's start with the famous pig salami.
Oh, yes. So the Pig Szeged company producing the pig salami and the pig winter salami is located in Szeged. This town is situated near the southern border of Hungary on the banks of the Tisza River. The Hungarian frontier with Serbia is just outside the town. So Szeged is the third largest city of Hungary, the largest city and the center of the southern region. The history of the Pig Szeged company dates back to the 19th century. So the company was founded by Mark Pick in 1869. You see this date on all the packing of the products in the brand, yes. So Mark Pick, an agricultural trader who learned the skills of salami making from Italian masters. So he was the founder of the factory. During this, the 150 or already more years of history, Pick has been a significant player in the European food industry market and has been the leader of the Hungarian meat market. So the flagship products of the Pig Szeged company is the world famous Pig Original Winter Salami, or the téli salami as you may know it. So this unique Hungarian product has been made according to the original secret recipe of Mark Pick for 100 or more already as 50 years. The product selection includes also other premium products, salamis, dry sausages, cold cuts, liver pastes, frankfurters, and the meat products made from the unique Mangalitsa pork. So Pick is the largest Mangalitsa meat producing business in the world.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So at the beginning of the 20th century, a large-scale production started. The riverside microclimate turned out to be a great environment for salami manufacturing. So in the 1930s, 40s, the average annual output of the factory reached already 4,000, 3,000, 4,000 tons. That is already around 40,000 tons today. So,
oh my goodness, that's a lot.
A lot, yes.
Big increase.
A big increase, yes. So after the Second World War, during the socialist time, the factory becomes a state property, as it happened with many factories. So later in the 1960s, still in the socialist times, the most modern technology available had been installed. So another important date, 1992, PIK becomes a publicly quoted company. In 1998, PIK has purchased the Szegedi Paprika company. In 2008, a PIK representative office was opened in Japan. And in 2009, PIK restarted to export to the United States and and has become member of the Bona Farm Group, Hungary's largest food processing integration. So, and in 2010, the Herz, another famous sausage making brand, was acquired by PIK. So this is the short history of the company, and PIK is a big and a very flourishing company today, and an excellent ambassador of the Hungarian sausages, salamis, I mean, in the world.
Yeah. Well, they've been very busy growing and all that. And so you talked about that they purchased the Szegedi Paprika company. So, there's a large quantity of paprika that is used in different meat productions. Mm-hmm. And while paprika is grown in gardens all around Hungary, where would you say is the place in Hungary that paprika has its home?
Oh, yes. So, yes, paprika is very important for the Hungarians. So paprika is an everyday ingredient in the Hungarian kitchen, and it is used in abundance in Hungary. So nearly all traditional dishes, the gulyás soup, the pörkölt stew, the chicken paprika, fish soup, and many more are prepared with sweet paprika. Paprika is a spice powder made from drying and then grinding the pods of several different types of peppers. But it can be confusing for you that in Hungary we use the word paprika also for the peppers themselves. So
yes, it is confusing.
Yeah. Yes, so paprika has a nice history. So paprika traveled a long way while it crossed the ocean from South America, and due to the help of the Turks in the 16th century, it found a home along the river Danube and became the most Hungarian spice. So the best quality and the biggest quantity of paprika comes from southern Hungary, particularly around the towns of Szeged and Kalocsa.
Okay.
We were talking about, yes. The locals discovered that the climate, the sunny summers, and the farmlands in the Kalocsa and Szeged region make an excellent basis for the production of this plant. So you remember we have organized already for Magyar marketing clients a paprika harvest program in the Kalocsa region some years ago, and it is really a very exciting program. People liked it a lot, enjoyed it a lot. So we will do it again in the future when we organize groups to this region. Yeah.
Yes, and so paprika, is a pretty important ingredient in the Hungarian kitchen in general, but also in the kolbász and different sausages that are made. And I love walking into a butcher shop and you see all the kolbász and the salona and the salami hanging out, and it smells amazing. I love the garlic smell too. And there's other well-known meats like the Gyulai kolbász and Debreceni kolbász and the Csabai salami. Let's talk a little bit about the different kinds of kolbász type meats so that we understand the difference a little bit between the dried and smoked, and can you eat a dried kolbász without cooking it? Those kinds of things.
It can be a little bit confusing, yes, because in Hungary we have got lots of different types and of sausages, salamis. So at the butcher shop, at the hentes, You can buy fresh or dry sausages. The fresh sausages must be baked in a pan or in the oven. And at many butcher shops, they make it ready for you to eat. Make it ready to eat for you, yes, on spot. So they offer fresh bed for you and pickles, kovászos uborka or cabbage or other types of pickles. So, but the dry sausages, they can be thin or thick. You can eat without baking. Just slice them and put the slices on your homemade bread and eat with tomatoes, onions, peppers, as you like it. So the Hungarian sausages may be boiled, fresh, or dried and smoked with different spices and flavors, hot or mild. So these sausages may be eaten like cold cut or used in the main courses as well. So the Hungarian cuisine uses the different types of sausages in many ways. In vegetable stews, soups, potato stews like the paprika krumpli, the paprika-based stew with spicy sausage and potatoes. In the bean soups like a jókai bableves, in meat stews, in some goulash soup variations. So the smoked sausages may contain bacon, ground pork, beef, boar or lamb, paprika, salt, garlic, black pepper, white pepper, caraway, nutmeg, marjoram, cayenne pepper, sugar, white wine. So the meat is ground and salted. If garlic is added, it is mashed in water to produce a slurry and added to the meat along with spices. So the sausage is then stuffed into natural casings, usually using the small intestine of the pig, cleaned intestine of the pig. The sausage is then hung overnight to allow the flavors to meld and some of the grease to drip out. So, and it is now ready to be used, fresh and unsmoked. Fresh sausages may have additional ingredients like liver, mushroom, bread, rice, eggs, cream. So, and unsmoked sausages are typically roasted with sauerkraut or red or green cabbage and served with mashed potatoes. So the dry sausages are cold smoked and hung to cure before use.
Okay.
We have already talked about the pig products, but the csabai, you have mentioned the csabai, gyulai sausage and the debreceni. They are also famous and really very delicious. So let me tell you some details about them.
Okay.
So the debreceni, you mentioned the debreceni. The Debrecen double sausage is a product based on a century-old tradition made from beef and pork, with the addition of bacon and a secret combination of spices, of course secret, formed also in the casings and then smoked. It is smoked. Originally, the Debrecen sausage was a homemade product, and therefore there were differences in the proportion of the ingredients and the spices used. So due to the individual tastes in seasoning, the flavors were influenced by a number of factors, of course. So as a simple practical dish, originally it had spread around the world with the German merchants and the traders coming to the fairs, the large fairs held in Debrecen. So they brought home the reputation and approximate recipe, providing an alternative to the various local Frankfurters, Viennese, and Bavarian sausages in Germany. So this is how the sausage originally made in Debrecen became known as Debreciner in German-speaking countries and also in other parts of the world, also in the USA. So, and this sausage was also a favorite food of the herdsmen driving the animals out to the pastures of Debrecen and in the Hajdú region, Hajdú-Szoboszló and in this region.
In the Hortobágy.
In the Hortobágy, yes. So you can try the Debrecen double sausage in 4 different varieties, made from pork only, beef only, a mix of pork and beef, or kosher, a kosher lamb. So the Debrecen, yes, there are lots of varieties. Yes, the 4 varieties. I mean, the Debrecen double sausage is featured on the menus of numerous restaurants in the city of Debrecen. So you can try it. It's a must.
You get to visit Debrecen, and you get to try the Debreceni sausage.
The Debreceni sausage, yes, the local. And let's see the Csabai sausage. So the Csabai sausage is firstly made special by the plentiful supply of ground paprika, which provides the harmonious Csabai sausage flavor with the spiciness and aroma of paprika dominating the other 3 spices that are in the sausage. So the Csabai sausage was the first sausage in Hungary to be designated as a Hungarikum.
Oh.
The Csabai sausage gets its name by Békés Csaba, as you mentioned, the Gyulai from Gyula, where it was made originally. So the secret to the Csabai sausage lies mainly in the manner of its preparation, as well as its ingredients and seasoning. In short, its characteristics, rather than the place where it was made. So in fact, you can make Csabai sausage. So yes, in fact, you can make Csabai sausage anywhere in Hungary or in the world if your product meets the criteria of the Csaba sausage. So Békés Csaba people prepare both thin and thick sausages, but more thick sausages.
Okay.
Yes, so the characteristics of the Csaba sausage are affected by a number of factors, like the type and the age of the hog whose meat will be processed, the quality and quantity of the red ground paprika, and its proportion to other ingredients in the sausage, the wood used for smoking, and how the sausages are stored. So overall, you might say in Békés Csaba, so many houses, so many sausages, of course.
That makes sense. Makes perfect sense.
Yes, but there are fundamental criteria that all Csaba sausages are expected to fulfill.
Okay.
So the real thing must be made exclusively from pork, not like the Debreciner. So no other meat is allowed to be added. However, meat must come from various parts of the fattening pig, such as the leg, the rib, the loin, or rump. Otherwise, the sausage will be too fatty or too lean. So, therefore, in contrast with salamis, no additional lard is needed for the Csaba sausage. Smoking gives a special flavor to the Csaba sausage. Once straw or corn stalk was used for smoking in open flues. Today, beech sawdust or corn cob is used instead. So, in summary, the Csaba sausage is made from pork, seasoned with ground red paprika. It's neither crumble nor dry. It's a juicy, spicy, hot, and bright red delicacy that has a slightly smoky taste. So this is the definition of the short definition of the Csabai. So the Gyulai sausage is named after the Hungarian town of Gyula, as you have mentioned, at the beginning. It is a slow cooked while being beech wood smoked. It is made from pork, szalonna, the Hungarian bacon, garlic, pepper, caraway, and the Hungarian red pepper as well. So, and it's important that we are proud of that at the World Exhibition of Food in Brussels, already in 1935, the Gyulai kolbasz was awarded a gold diploma.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yes. The sausage may be cut. Yes, the sausage may be cut into thin slices and eaten alone or with bread, homemade bread. They are also added to many Hungarian dishes, including lecsó and
rakott krumpli.
And rakott krumpli, of course. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, there's so much to learn. My goodness. There's so many different kinds of sausages and kolbasz and salamis and That's definitely a huge opportunity, but it's definitely just a lot. And every home, well, not every home, but many homes make their own.
Yes. And the families are competing whose sausage is better,
It's kind of like a palinka. The palinka is the same.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Well, so let's talk a little bit about hurka, because that is something that I grew up with. And, if you have a Hungarian butcher, if you live near a Hungarian butcher, then you can get a hold of hurka. If you don't live near one, it's expensive to get it because it has to be kept cold the whole time it ships to you. And that's sometimes a challenge. So talk a little bit about what's in hurka and how that's made.
Yes, hurka is a typical dish of the pig feasts in winter, in the pig, in the disznóvágás. But hurka has become also a popular street food in Hungary recently. So it has got endless variations, but the most beloved are the véres hurka and the májas hurka, the black pudding, the bloody pudding, and the liver sausage. Véres hurka, májas hurka. So the main ingredients are liver and rice, or blood and rice, with spices like majoram and pepper. In some part of Hungary, the rice can be replaced with corn flour, buckwheat, and can be seasoned with other spices like dill or some other spices, yes. The paste is usually stuffed in natural casings and roasted. So they have a softish texture, so you can eat it with fork and knife. And so the hurkas are usually consumed with pickles, gherkins, cabbage stuffed peppers, pickled cauliflowers, and of course with mustard and warm, crispy, homemade bread.
Now I'm hungry. So a few years ago, you participated in the Kolbász Festival in Békéscsaba. Let's talk about that.
Oh, yes, it's a very popular festival. So the Csabai Kolbász Festival, Sausage Festival, is an annual celebration of the Csabai sausage we were talking about. And it has been held since 1997 in a small town, Hungarian town called Békéscsaba. It's near to the Romanian border in southern part of Hungary. It's a 4-day festival which attracts already around, I heard, 100,000 visitors.
Wow. So, it's a big event.
Yes, this festival is one of the most significant gastro-cultural events of Central and Eastern Europe. So to this day, surviving living traditions are the foundation of the festival, in which Csaba sausage making, the pig keeping traditions, the city community feasts, and gastronomic traditions are placed at the center. So, but the event's highlight is the fresh sausage making contest with around 600, 700 teams from Hungary.
Oh my goodness.
And from Europe, mainly from the neighboring countries, from Slovakia, Czechia, Romania, Austria. But there are dozens of other contests also during the festivals. For example, pig feast meals and stuffed cabbage making competition, where you can make and also taste the food. So there are pig feast shows every day where you can meet the different regions' traditions. So this event is an integral part of the food industry and the local agriculture. So it's important for everybody.
Sure. Wow.
Yes. So folk and popular music entertainments ensure the festival's positive atmosphere. So in the evenings, famous Hungarian international performers are ready to entertain the audience, the visitors. So there is also a wine festival accompanying the main festival, providing the opportunity for the wine regions to showcase their products. and the food and agricultural exhibition to promote the region's food and agricultural products. So you can buy here the world famous Hungarikum, the Csabai kolbász, from various local sausage makers. So you can buy, you can try different types of Csabai sausage.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. I'm sure it's a very festive atmosphere, and it sounds like that should be something we include on a tour at some point, because that sounds like a great festival to show up at. Even though it's crowded, it's busy, but there's so much variety there.
Yes, and it's a 4 days festival. So, some years ago, we have been also participating, and we were competing, like a team, a sausage making team. And so just some words about it. All the teams got a meat package and the casings from the organizers, but you have to take your own recipes and your own spices. So, and after, and also the sausage filler, your own sausage filler, your equipments. So, and the 40-member jury is checking at the end and tasting the different sausages and declare the winner, at the end. So pork meat is used, but there is also a mangalitsa sausage making competition. So as I told you, there are more contests, not only one.
Okay. Well, it sounds like an awesome opportunity to really get into understanding all the ins and outs and the varieties of Csabai kolbász.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about the winter season. This is where there's mainly meats are prepared, and there are opportunities to participate in a disznóvágás, even if you don't own a pig. So a few years ago, we joined a weekend event where a pig was butchered and people had the opportunity to join in on the kolbász making. And it was a great chance to see the entire process from start to finish and how people do it. So talk a little bit about a disznóvágás and how that happens in the countryside.
Oh, yes. So the Hungarian traditional disznóvágás, if you translate, it's a pig butchering and processing party. It's a ritual, a family event in the countryside from dawn to dusk. It also includes making pork dishes for the whole family and with the whole family. So all the family members participate. So the old butchers in Hungary are often invited to help because they have the special equipment, the sausage fillers, for example, and they are experienced, in it. So the day of this event is usually set on a cold day, anytime during winter season, but usually between November and February. And of course, cold helps to minimize the risk of bacteria spreading in the meats. So it's usually done once a year, but sometimes twice. First, it happens before Christmas and New Year festivities to supply the family with meat, sausages, lard for cooking the Christmas and New Year dishes. And the second time, it happens in January, February, before the carnival season and before Easter, of course, because the Easter ham should be prepared well before Easter time. So it takes place outside the house, of course, in the backyard, where the yard has been arranged for it. So typically, the pig needs to have between 150-300 kilograms. It's a good pig to be prepared. So on such days, work begins, as you told me as well, very early. Participants are served with shots of homemade pálinka, of course.
Of course.
So all the important events must have, a pálinka welcome. The butcher and his assistants divide the animal into the parts, which will be processed to make black pudding, the véres hurka we were talking about, the sausage, the ham, the liver sausage, the májas hurka, crackling, and cuts of meat. So part of the resulting kolbász sausage is smoked, a process which takes a few days, of course. To offer kolbász on the day of the event, a few sausages are roasted and are served with a dinner. For a good sausage, you need traditional Hungarian spices, some but not much of the fatty parts, and lots of clean meat. We were talking about it already a lot. The crackling is prepared in a pot. With a huge wooden spoon, the pork belly is stirred, which has been cut into strips again and again until it has shrunk to a third of the size of his size. The first glass of Paprika is drunk before the pig feast to get people in mood, while the second drunk is drunk in honor of the processed, butchered pig.
Aha. So they celebrate the pig.
Yes, of course. There is plentiful paprika and mulled wine throughout the day. Why, as you remember, you can remember as well. While the work goes on outside, inside the atmosphere is becoming increasingly convivial. So breakfast consists of bread with lard, kolbász, and ham from the previous party.
Okay.
Very early in the morning. So later, the roasted blood is served. So, and lunch follows with a fantastic Oreo soup. You remember the Oreo soup? It was made from the vertebral of the pig.
Vertebrae?
Vertebrae. The spine.
The spine. Cord. Yes. Spine, not cord, yes, but spine.
Yeah, of the pig, yes. It's very tasty, really. So pork fillet and roasted fresh liver on steamed cabbage and with parsley potatoes. This is the lunch. The feast is crowned by the dinner at around 6-7 o'clock p.m. when freshly roasted kolbász, which must be ready for that time, and the freshly made black pudding arrive on the table. So, and at the end of the day, all the guests, all the family members take home a little package with delicacies from the pig feast.
Yes, it was fun. It's not something I would probably do all the time, but it was a very good, for a city. I'm a city girl. I did not grow up with anything like that. So it was a very interesting opportunity to really visit the traditions of my family that, we lost most of those traditions when we moved to the US, but being in Hungary and experiencing them there, I'm sure, because my family came from small villages, that this is part of what they did as a regular thing, at least every year, at least once a year.
But also today in Hungary, in the towns, the town dwellers, the people living in the cities, they also don't know this tradition. But in the villages, there are some farms. It is organized as a touristical program for them today sometimes, because it's a tradition in the villages, but not everybody is doing it in the villages.
But I think it's one of those things where, if you're raising the pig, you're feeding the pig, what the pig ate. Yes. It is a natural process to then eat the pig. You know everything that's gone into it. If you're a part of the pig processing party, you know what goes into it. And otherwise, if you're always buying things from big markets and big shops, and you don't have your hand in, it's the farm to table thing.
Oh yes,
you're growing it, you're processing it, you're eating it, and it's an important tradition. And I think people are going back to that because they don't necessarily want the preservatives.
Oh, yes. And each and every part of the pig is useful. So some bits are turned into spicy sausages or Hungarian pork cheese. So the disznósajt, which is similar to the Scottish haggis. So the disznósajt or disznófősajt, the pork cheese or pork head cheese, is made of mixed meat slices, especially from the head of the pig, spices, paprika, and pieces of bacon cooked in spicy stock. So the chopped meat is stuffed into the pig's stomach, cleaned very well, of course, before, pricked with the needles, then pressed down with the weights to remove excess fat and make it tight and compact. So often it is smoked like sausages or ham, and it's a popular cold breakfast in the countryside. So, and also the fat is fried and the legs are smoked. The fat of the pig and the legs. The smoked legs, together with the ears, the pigtail, are used to prepare the kocsonya, the popular wheat jelly. Yep. You remember? We have we took part in a kocsonya festival in Miskolc some years ago. Yes. And the lard of the pig is used to prepare the fat scones, the hájas pogácsa. Have you tried it already?
I don't think I've tried that. Not a hájas.
Hájas pogácsa that was a popular dessert in winter times, not only in the countryside, also in the cities. So it is filled with plum jam, and the best to eat it when it is still warm. So I remember from my childhood.
Okay, well, wow, you've I thought this was just going to be a simple topic of meat, but this is a big deal. This is from pick to the Disznóvárgás, and there's so much to learn. So, and it's important, because there are small families doing it, but there's also obviously a big industry from the kalocsap and the szegedi paprika to the mangalitsa industry. All of it is intertwined and accessible on the local level in a village home, but also to the world as it comes out. Thank you for talking about the meat Hungarikums and the Disznóvárgás and all of that. It was very interesting.
It was a pleasure for me that I could talk a bit about this topic. I love this topic. So, and of course, we are very proud of and love the Hungarian sausages and salamis. So the pig butchering and processing in the villages or farms might be a bit weird for the town dwellers, but many countryside people still do it, fortunately, and it keeps this tradition alive. So some farms organize pig butchering and processing parties, pig feast for tourists, so everybody can join who is interested in not only people from abroad, but also Hungarians living in the villages. Yeah. In the towns, I mean, in the cities.
So it's a nice way to help involve people in the old traditions. I mean, they're not even just old traditions, but it is the traditional way.
Yes.
So, well, thank you for tuning into this episode of Hungarian Living. Please be sure to check out our show notes at hungarianliving.com, where you will find links to the things we discussed in this episode. And if you listen to us on a podcast app, please rate and review us and spread the word about what we do. And we'll catch you next time. Hungarian Living is a division of Magyar Marketing, the Hungarian store, where you can find meaningful gifts with Hungarian style. Check us out at magyarmarketing.com. And special thanks to Stephen Chichek and the Animal Cannibals for the show music. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode of Hungarian Living, please subscribe and share this podcast with your favorite Hungarian. Check out our show notes for links to resources mentioned in this episode. If you have a question or comment, email us at podcast@hungarianliving.com. We'll catch you next time.